Good morning, Year 3. It's Mr. Bayford here for Thursday's English lesson. Today, we're going to be looking back at yesterday's work and redrafting it. Redraft means to write again, but with improvements, changes, and differences to make it even better. I'm going to be looking back at Mrs. Dorham's Lion Ache and seeing where we can redraft it to make it even better. Before we do that, let's have a quick look at the toolkit. The features toolkit of the Medusa poem. So each idea on a new line, one word phrases, vocabulary choices, noun phrases, alliteration, and emotions. I noticed that Mrs. Doran did most of that really, really well. I spotted a bit of alliteration that we could add later on, and a few vocabulary choices that actually I thought I could improve. The other thing we could have a quick look at is the mythical beast word bank. So just have another look round there. For example, if you chose the word sad, maybe you could choose something a bit more dramatic to make it even better, such as downhearted or dejected or hopeless. That gives it a bit more emotion than just the word sad, for example. And lastly, the structure. We need to have a close look at the structure. Three verbs to begin the poem. We'll have a look at that. Make sure Mrs. Doran's got all that. Describing the appearance of the creature, the personality. How does that creature feel? Its emotions, where it lives, and if it has any family. Having a quick look, I feel like I need to come back to this one at some point. So there's already a great idea for my rewrite, my redraft. And finally, what does the beast do to anyone who attacks it? I'm going to pop this down and have a look. So on the left here on our screen, this is the original. This is Mrs. Doran's writing from yesterday. I just popped it onto the computer and wrote it up exactly how she wrote it on her paper. And on my right, I'm going to be going through my redraft of Mrs. Doran's poem, and I'll explain what I saw, what I changed, and why. And I hope it will make sense as we go through. So let's just read the first one quickly before we get started. The lion ache, slivering, cursed, bellowing, golden fur matted and twisted, rusty scales glowing in the last rays of the sun, hateful, outraged, angry, living in windswept, desolate sand dunes, victims isolated in its labyrinth home, twisting and turning, desperate. That was a really good first draft. And I was so happy with that writing because that has given me such a vivid image of the lion ache in my mind and where it lives and how it feels. That's a great first start. But I did notice a few things that I could improve and continue. And I also noticed that it didn't talk about um, any family or siblings. So I thought, oh, I'll play around with that as well. So I'm going to flip over now to this side, Thursday, the 7th of January, and the same heading that's there. So the Lion Egg. This is my redraft. Now, first of all, I noticed um, there were some full stops at the end of some and not in the other. So I made a decision to put the full stops at the end of every um, I say sentence. It's not. They're not quite sentences, but every idea. Apart from this one here, however, this is a longer idea that goes all the way down to there. So the first part, slivering, bellowing, cursed, is very similar to the original introduction. The only reason I changed bellowing to cursed was because slivering, bellowing, cursed. I thought it just sounded nicer, and sometimes you just need to read it out loud to get that idea. Slivering, cursed, and bellowing does work. That's really lovely. The words, the vocabulary were fantastic, so I kept it, but I just changed the order. Slivering, bellowing, cursed. I just thought that was more punctual, more powerful. Golden fur, matted and torn. Now, this word torn, they had Mrs. Doran had twisted before, but I did notice that we did say twisting down here, and I had to make a decision about which twist I would like to keep. And in the end, the bottom one here, twisting and turning, that sounded really nicely. It's slight alliteration as well there, that meant I needed to turn this um, into a different word. Matted and torn. Now I chose torn because when I think of fur being torn, I feel like it's been in a fight or it's been attacked and survived. However, it's got a battle scar, and I thought, wow, that actually increases the story. It makes it a bit more exciting. Why is it torn? Who's been attacking it? So I thought torn was a really, really good word. Rusty. Rusty scales glowing in the last ray of the setting sun. The only thing I changed here was the word setting. I originally had descending, which means to go down. Um, but I saw the opportunity of alliteration, and setting sun is quite nice as well. Um, I'm not too convinced. If I was to redraft it again, I might put descending and look for another place where alliteration could work. But setting sun works for the alliteration. Hateful, outraged. Now, I've chosen the word alone instead of angry. And reason number one was because outraged and angry are very close together. Like they almost mean the same thing, almost. So I wanted hateful, outraged, alone. There's almost a dip of emotion there. We think, oh, why is it alone? Um, so you're starting to think, oh, I don't like this creature, hateful. Oh, outraged, I don't like this creature, alone. Oh, why is it alone? And that leads me on to my next line, which I added in about family, which was missing. I thought about this long and hard and wondered if it should have a family. And actually, I decided it should not. Um, because it was living in this labyrinth that we talked about earlier, I thought actually, would lots of them live there? I leant more towards no, it lives alone. And then to make it more interesting for the reader and for the legend, I've written first and last of its kind. So it's an absolute mystery how this being ever happened. Where did it come from? Um, why is it here? How do we know it's the last of its kind? It just gives it a bit of mystery that makes it quite exciting. So I left it with no family, nowhere. It just lives on its own. Um, so we move on to living in windswept desolate sand dunes. I loved that, and I didn't feel like I needed to change anything about that idea. I thought that was great. Victims isolated in its labyrinth home, twisting and turning. Now the only part I redrafted there, the only part I edited was the word isolated. Now isolated is a fantastic word. It's better than um, just saying on their own. Um, However, because I added the word alone up here and I gave the reader a bit of an idea about that actually it's living alone, the word isolated, I thought, we're talking about being alone quite a lot here. Um, and also, victims is plural, so it means it could be more than one. Um, so I thought isolated might be the wrong word for it. Um, I kept going with the idea it's in the labyrinth home, twisting and turning. Are they going to get out of this? No. So I thought, right, the best word for this is trapped. Trapped. They cannot get out. They can't escape. So trapped, I chose instead. Again, if I was to redraft this again, I might look even closer into that idea. And then the last word of the poem was desperate, which I loved and I kept. However, I thought, right, I'll keep in the theme of the poem of the one, two, three single words, and I've added a few more, and hopefully those two words add a bit more to our story. So desperate. I thought Mrs. Doran was talking about the victims here trying to escape, desperate. So I loved it. I kept it. Despair. Um, I thought was a great word. It also has a really nice alliteration of not just the first letter, but the first three: despair, and the last one is despicable. So despair, I was thinking that the victims have lost hope. They have lost hope. They're despair. We can't get out. We're in despair. And then what happens when the lion ache finds these victims? Despicable. I'm not even going to describe it. It is so despicable. And the despair, desperate, despair, despicable. I thought that was a really nice punching ending to the poem. So I will send this back to Mrs. Dom and see what she thinks. I hope she likes it. If not, we can redraft it again. We'll just keep redrafting until we're both happy. But that's the idea of redrafting, to improve, to make it even better. And look back. So something that you've done yesterday, sometimes it's really nice to have a break from a project, maybe a night, sleep on it, come back the next day with new, fresh ideas. And that's exactly what we're doing today. So we're really looking forward to seeing your redraft. We've kept all your originals as well. We'll compare it and see what improvements you've made. Ask an adult to read through and challenge yourself. How can I make this word better? How can I use the idea of family for my next idea or anything like that? Remember to use that word back and remember to refer back to the toolkit. Thank you very much. Really, really looking forward to seeing the redrafts, and have a lovely day.